The hallway camera showed Lena entering her apartment at 11:43 p.m., but 3 seconds later, the footage captured something impossible. Another shadow slipped under her door after she had already gone inside. It wasn't attached to anyone. It moved alone. And by morning, the woman living across the hall had vanished without a trace. Lena Hart never liked silence. That was why she always kept old jazz music playing softly in her apartment, even while sleeping. Her small fourth-floor apartment felt less empty that way. Rain tapped against the windows that night as she edited photographs from a late-night city shoot. Around 2 a.m., her laptop battery died unexpectedly. The music stopped. The apartment fell completely silent. Then she noticed it. Her shadow on the wall looked wrong. At first, she blamed exhaustion. She stood near the kitchen light, watching her silhouette stretch across the pale wall. But while she remained still, the shadow's head slowly tilted to one side. Lena froze. A nervous laugh escaped her throat. "Okay, no more caffeine." She stepped backward. The shadow didn't. For one horrifying second, it remained standing near the wall while she moved away from it. Then it snapped back into place beneath her feet like nothing had happened. Lena grabbed her phone and recorded the wall, her hands trembling. Nothing strange appeared on the screen. The shadow behaved normally now. She replayed the video again and again, trying to calm herself. At 3:17 a.m., someone knocked on her apartment door. 3 slow knocks. She peeked through the peephole. The hallway was empty. Another knock came immediately behind her. Lena spun around so fast her shoulder hit the wall. The sound had come from inside the apartment. Her bedroom door creaked open on its own. The darkness inside looked unnaturally deep, like black water filling the room. She reached for the light switch beside her, but before touching it, she saw movement on the bedroom wall. A tall shadow stood there. Not hers. Its long fingers stretched toward the ceiling as though climbing out of the darkness itself. Lena stumbled backward, gasping, and the figure suddenly disappeared. Every light in the apartment flickered violently before turning back on. The silence returned. Then her phone buzzed. A message from her best friend Mira appeared on the screen. "Why are you standing outside your building right now?" Lena's blood turned cold. Because she wasn't outside, she was still inside her apartment. Lena called Mira instantly, nearly dropping her phone as the screen shook in her trembling hands. The call connected after 2 rings. "What do you mean I'm outside?" Lena whispered. Mira sounded confused. "I just got home. I saw you standing under the streetlight across from your building. You were staring up at your apartment window." Lena slowly turned toward the glass window beside her couch. Rainwater slid down the surface in crooked lines. Across the street, beneath the flickering yellow street lamp, a dark figure stood completely still. It looked exactly like her. Same height, same coat, same long dark hair hanging over one shoulder. But even from 4 floors above, Lena could tell something was wrong with the face. It was too pale, too empty. The figure suddenly lifted its arm and pointed directly at her apartment window. Lena screamed and stumbled away from the glass. "Lena? What happened?" Mira shouted through the phone. "It's looking at me." "What is?" Before Lena could answer, the streetlight outside exploded, showering sparks onto the wet pavement. Darkness swallowed the figure instantly. The call disconnected. Every light inside Lena's apartment went out at once. The room became suffocatingly black. Even the city lights outside disappeared behind thick storm clouds. Lena could hear only the rain and her own uneven breathing. Then another sound emerged. Footsteps. Slow footsteps crossing her living room. She couldn't see anyone, but she heard wet footsteps moving across the wooden floor toward her. Step, drag, step, drag. Lena backed against the kitchen counter and grabbed a knife with shaking fingers. "Who's there?" she cried. The footsteps stopped, directly in front of her. A freezing breath touched her face. Then her phone flashlight suddenly turned on by itself. The beam illuminated the room for half a second. A woman stood inches away from her. Her skin was gray and stretched tightly over her bones. Long black hair covered most of her face, but one eye stared through the strands, wide, pale, and completely lifeless. Her mouth hung open unnaturally far, revealing darkness instead of teeth or a tongue. Then the flashlight died again. Lena ran. She bolted out of the apartment barefoot, nearly slipping on the hallway floor. Her neighbor across the hall, Elias Vane, opened his door before she could knock. He looked strangely calm, like he had been expecting her. "She found you already," he said quietly. Lena pushed past him. "What the hell is happening to me?" Elias locked the door and closed the curtains immediately. Candles filled the apartment instead of electric lights, their flames trembling softly. "You looked at it too long," he murmured. "Looked at what?" "The shadow." Lena stared at him in disbelief. Elias walked toward a bookshelf and removed an old leather journal. Its pages were stained and warped with age. He handed it to her carefully. "3 people disappeared from this building before you moved in," he said. "Every one of them reported the same thing first." Lena opened the journal with shaking hands. The first sentence nearly stopped her heart. "My shadow began moving before I did." Lena's hands trembled as she flipped through the journal. The pages were filled with frantic handwriting, sketches of dark human figures, and repeated warnings scratched into the paper so deeply they nearly tore through. "Don't let it see you sleep. Don't stand in darkness too long. If it speaks with your voice, run." "This belonged to Noah Reed," Elias said quietly. "He lived in your apartment 6 years ago." Lena looked up sharply. "What happened to him?" Elias didn't answer immediately. The candlelight reflected in his eyes as thunder rolled outside. "They found his apartment empty. All the doors were locked from the inside." He paused, but his shadow was still there. Lena stared at him in horror. "That's impossible." Elias gave a weak smile. "That's exactly what Noah said." A loud bang suddenly echoed from the hallway outside the apartment. Both of them froze. Another bang followed, this time harder. The front door shook violently. Lena stepped backward. "Someone's out there." Elias slowly blew out 2 candles near the windows. "No," he whispered. "Something is." The banging stopped. Silence filled the apartment again. Then came a soft scratching sound from the ceiling. Lena looked up. The scratching moved slowly across the roof above them, like fingernails dragging through wood, back and forth, back and forth. Then directly overhead, it stopped. Dust drifted from the ceiling. A low voice whispered from above them. "Lena!" It was her own voice. Lena covered her mouth to stop herself from screaming. Elias grabbed her wrist tightly. "Do not answer it!" The whisper came again, louder this time. "Lena, let me inside." The ceiling light suddenly swung side to side, although there was no wind. Shadows twisted unnaturally across the walls. One of them began stretching downward toward Lena like black liquid crawling across the floor. Elias pulled a lighter from his pocket and ignited a circle of candles around them. The moving shadow instantly stopped at the edge of the candlelight. "It hates fire," he said. The whisper above them became angry. The ceiling cracked. A long, pale hand pushed through the broken plaster. Lena screamed as another hand emerged beside it, fingers bending backward with sharp cracking sounds. The creature slowly dragged itself downward through the ceiling hole. Strands of wet black hair hung from its face, while its unnaturally long limbs twitched violently. The Hollow Woman. Its head turned toward Lena with impossible speed. Then it smiled. Its jaw stretched wider and wider until the skin around its mouth began tearing. Every candle in the room extinguished at once. Darkness swallowed them. Lena felt freezing fingers wrap around her throat. She struggled blindly, gasping for air, until suddenly a bright orange flame exploded nearby. Elias had set part of the carpet on fire. The creature shrieked. The sound was inhuman, a mixture of screaming metal and human cries echoing together. Shadows retreated violently into the corners of the apartment as the flames spread. "Move!" Elias shouted. They ran into the hallway while smoke poured behind them, but as Lena reached the stairwell, she stopped cold. Someone stood at the bottom of the stairs. It was her. The thing below slowly lifted its head and smiled. And this time, its shadow moved before it did. The copy of Lena standing below the staircase began climbing upward slowly, one step at a time. Its movements were stiff and unnatural, like a puppet learning how to walk. The hallway lights flickered above it, revealing the same face, the same eyes, the same terrified expression Lena herself wore. But the smile was wrong, too wide, too empty. Elias grabbed Lena's arm. "Don't look directly into its eyes." "What is that thing?" she whispered. "It's not trying to kill you," he said breathlessly. "It's trying to replace you." The creature tilted its head sharply at the sound of his voice. Then every light in the hallway exploded at once. Darkness consumed the building. The fake Lena vanished. A deep scraping noise echoed from somewhere below them, followed by the sound of dozens of footsteps climbing the stairs together. Not human footsteps. Too uneven. Too many. Elias pulled Lena toward the rooftop access door. They slammed through it just as shadowy figures began emerging from the darkness beneath the stairwell. Thin, pale arms stretched upward, grabbing blindly through the blackness. Rain hammered the rooftop. The city skyline glowed faintly through the storm while thunder cracked overhead. Lena backed away from the rooftop edge, shaking violently. "There has to be a way to stop this," she cried. Elias looked at her with guilt in his eyes. "There is." Before Lena could speak, he handed her Noah's journal one final time. A folded page slipped out from the center. She unfolded it carefully. The final entry read, "The shadow survives by attaching itself to fear. But if the host willingly steps into darkness, the connection breaks forever." Lena slowly looked up. "You knew this would happen to me." Elias lowered his head silently. "You survived because you gave it someone else," she realized. The expressions on his face confirmed everything. The rooftop door burst open behind them. The hollow woman crawled onto the roof with jerking movements, followed by dozens of moving shadows twisting across the rain-soaked surface. Among them stood the false Lena, smiling wider than before. "Join us," they whispered together in Lena's voice. The shadows rushed forward. Elias tried to pull Lena back, but she shoved him away. "No more." She ran straight toward the darkest corner of the rooftop, where the storm clouds blocked all remaining light. The false Lena screamed violently and lunged after her. The moment Lena stepped completely into the darkness, every shadow on the rooftop froze. Silence fell. Then came a horrible shriek. The creatures began tearing apart like smoke ripped by wind. The hollow woman's body cracked and twisted unnaturally before dissolving into black ash. The fake Lena reached desperately toward the darkness, where the real Lena had disappeared and vanished. Everything became still. The storm suddenly stopped. Police found Elias alone on the rooftop the next morning, half unconscious and surrounded by strange black stains burned into the concrete. Lena Hart was never found. But weeks later, Detective Rowan Pierce reviewed traffic camera footage from another city hundreds of miles away. At 2:13 a.m., a woman identical to Lena walked past the camera during heavy rain. She had no reflection in the nearby store window, and her shadow followed 3 steps behind her.